Since the sect has orders, it's not convenient to tell them. So I can only apologize. He could tell that these people's identities were not ordinary. If they wanted to take revenge after this incident, although Zhou Hao was not afraid, he also felt that it would be troublesome, so he might as well not reveal his information. Since it is not convenient for you to tell us, we do not need to force you. The seductive woman laughed softly, but the way she looked at Zhou Hao became even more curious. I apologize for what happened just now, but I think you Chinese people are all very particular about etiquette, so you will not make things difficult for me. Zhou Hao secretly laughed in his heart. This girl kept saying that she was a little girl, but she had a servant with powerful martial arts by her side. Since Sir doesn't have any intention of befriending me, then I'll bid you farewell. I don't want to be looked down upon by that young lady again. The seductive woman deliberately revealed a mocking smile to Yang Jiabao, who was standing behind Zhou Hao. Because from the beginning, Yang Jiabao's gaze towards her was very unfriendly. There was also a kind of caution, as if she was afraid that she would take away the thing she loved the most. She gave Zhou Hao a meaningful glance. The seductive woman turned around and left. Mr. Jingu also gave Zhou Hao a deep look, then followed her and left. As for Mr. Dong, he narrowed his eyes and said coldly to Zhou Hao, "Kid, you are lucky this time. Next time I see you, I won't let you go so easily." After saying that, he flicked his sleeves and left. Yang Jiabao angrily glared at them and said in a delicate voice, it was clearly them who were at a disadvantage, but they still spoke as if they were the ones who initiated us. Zhou Hao shook his head and said, "Forget it. Anyway, they have already left, so don't be so calculative." He looked at the little boy beside Yang Jiabao. Although the little boy was no longer crying, there was still a look of panic on his face. Clearly, this matter scared him quite a bit. Zhou Hao said to him, "Little friend, now you know, right? Don't steal any more in the future." The little boy hurriedly nodded. "Not in the future. Thank you, big brother and big sister. Don't move your hands within a month, understand?" Zhou Hao said to him. Although his hand had been grabbed by the stone dragon just now, the bones in his hand showed signs of cracking. However, after Zhou Hao's genuine aura healed his injuries, he was no longer seriously injured. After the little boy left, Yang Jiabao said to Zhou Hao that Japanese's martial arts are so powerful just now. "I thought you were going to be injured by him." As she spoke, she touched Zhou Hao's upper body to make sure he was not injured. Zhou Hao's expression was a little serious. That guy's martial arts are very high. If I was not careful, I would really be injured. Fortunately, I have thick skin and thick flesh. But this clothes, how should I go back now? Zhou Hao looked at the shirt on his upper body that had turned into cloth and said with a bitter face. When he saw Zhou Hao's sorry look, Yang Jiabao giggled. However, she knew that there were so many tourists outside. If she let Zhou Hao go out like this, not only would Zhou Hao lose face, even the Yang family would be implicated as well. Therefore, she let Zhou Hao stay here while she went out to buy him a shirt for emergencies. I wonder if I will meet them again in the future. On the way back, Zhou Hao talked to himself. Yang Jiabao, who was beside him, poked his head. It's useless even if you meet them. Didn't you hear what the Japanese said just now? That woman is his wife. He is already married. Why do you think so much? I just don't know who her husband is. To be able to make such a powerful expert as a bodyguard, her background must not be simple. Zhou Hao thought for a while and said, and that man surnamed Dong, he doesn't seem to be a good person either. The old man by his side, Shi Long, is probably as strong as that Mr. Jingu. On the other hand, the seductive woman was also asking Mr. Jingu, "Mr. Jingu, are you all right?" Mr. Jingu took a deep breath and adjusted his genuine aura. He shook his head and said, "Madam, I'm fine." Mr. Dong reached out and patted his left shoulder with a smile. "It's good that you are fine. You have to shoulder the responsibility of protecting Mrs. Tokugawa." Mr. Jingu's mouth twitched and his left arm trembled. The seductive woman called Mrs. Tokugawa quickly said, "Mr. Jingu, are you really all right?" Mr. Jingu gritted his teeth. "Just now, I was shaken by that guy's genuine aura and broke the arm bone of my left arm. Is that guy really that powerful?" Mr. Dong said in surprise. At the same time, he looked at the stone dragon beside him. The stone dragon nodded. "Young master, I can't see the depth of his power either. But to be able to injure Mr. Jingu, his power is unfathomable." Looking at Mr. Jingu's sorry state, he was glad that he didn't recklessly attack Zhou Hao just now. However, he heard Mr. Jingu clench his teeth and say, "If I had a knife in my hand, I might not lose to him. At least I could fight with him until both of us were injured." Obviously, he was best at knife skills. But I never heard you say there was such a powerful person in the country. Mr. Dong frowned and said, Young master, there are actually many hidden experts in our country, but most of them don't care about fame and fortune. That's why they don't have a good reputation, Rock Dragon explained. And what I'm concerned about is what kind of expert is capable of training such a powerful expert like that young man just now. Mrs. Tokugawa said, That is why I wanted to settle the matter peacefully just now. We are here in China to do business. If we provoke some expert, then the loss outweighs the gain. Mr. Dong immediately smiled flatteringly and said, Mrs. Tokugawa is very thoughtful. However, with my relationship, even if the other party really wanted to find trouble with us, it would not be so easy, unless he wants to go against our entire government. Mrs. Tokugawa's beautiful eyes turned, and she laughed softly. You're right. Our Tokugawa family also came to China to seek cooperation with you, because we saw the capability of your Dong family. Mr. Dong was mesmerized by Mrs. Tokugawa's seductive beauty. He quickly smiled and said, It's my honor to be able to work with you, Mrs. Tokugawa. Mount Hung, also known as Nanyue, is one of the 5 peaks of China, located in Hongshan County, Hunan Province. As the climate here was pleasant, Mount Hung was covered with lush trees and bamboos. It was green all year round, and there were many exotic flowers and plants. The scenery was very beautiful. Moreover, Mount Yulu, which was to the north of Mount Hung, was a famous mountain in China. It was especially famous for Mount Yulu College, Cloud Mountain Palace, and other places. It had been half a month since Zhou Hao and Xiao Jiming arrived at Mount Hung in Hunan, because the herbs recorded in Xinnong's herbal classics were all growing here. During this period of time, Zhou Hao and Xiao Jiming had found these herbs. Zhou Hao and Xiao Jiming had also been staying in the Yunlu Palace on Mount Yulu. The priests in the Yunlu Palace were very friendly to them. One reason was that Zhou Hao had added a lot of money to the Yunlu Palace. On the other hand, the people in Yunlu Palace had learned martial arts. They were similar to Zhou Hao and the others. They had also learned martial arts from each other. The fundamental purpose of the Qi nourishment records that Zhou Hao cultivated was to strengthen his body and defend against enemies through Qi fostering and concentration. This was very similar to how Taoists used to strengthen their body to achieve the sublimation of their body and mind. Although the martial arts of Yunlu Palace could only be considered ordinary, the martial arts of their disciples could not even be compared to Xiao Jiming's. However, the philosophy of Taoism's martial arts had given Zhou Hao a lot of benefits, especially the most famous martial arts of Taoism, Taiji Fist. Zhou Hao used to only think that this was a physical exercise used by the old man to strengthen his body, but now he found out that Taiji Fist was really extensive and profound. It was not difficult to learn, or even master it. However, it wasn't that easy to comprehend the thoughts within. At this moment, Zhou Hao and Xiao Jiming were sitting in a courtyard on the north side of Yunlu Palace. There was no wall here, and they were directly connected to the bamboo forest outside. Zhou Hao and Xiao Jiming would be leaving Mount Hung tomorrow to the northern side of Hubei, so today was the last day they would stay in Yunlu Palace. Wudong Mountain and Nine Palace Mountain in Hubei are both sacred grounds for Taoism. You can pay them a visit if you want to go there. In the bamboo forest, an old man in his 70s wearing an old Taoist robe was chopping the bamboo with a machete. Uncle Sean, what about you? Have you ever been to Wudong Mountain and Nine Palace Mountain? Zhou Hao asked the old man called Uncle Sean. Me. Uncle Sean smiled and continued chopping the bamboo in front of him. I have lived here for more than 40 years and have never gone down the mountain. Not to mention Wudong Mountain, I have never even gone to the market in Lianshan. Zhou Hao and Uncle Sean had known Uncle Sean since the first day they stayed in Yunlu Palace. He had lived in Yunlu Palace for dozens of years, but he was not a priest here. He was a worker in Yunlu Palace. He was responsible for chopping wood and cooking. For the past half a month, he was in charge of Zhou Hao and Xiao Jiming's daily meals. He cut down the bamboo to make some bamboo baskets and other tools for Yunlu Palace. Although he was already over 70 years old, Uncle Sean was still strong and strong. Although his hair was white, his face was as red as a healthy old man. Zhou Hao, who was sitting in the courtyard, had been paying attention to him for a long time. He discovered that Uncle Sean could even cut down those tall bamboo trees that were as thick as bowls. Uncle Sean had never used a second blade to cut down trees in the morning. The blade in his hand was just an ordinary wooden blade, and there were still many holes on it. Uncle Sean, your blade technique is so powerful, Zhou Hao said meaningfully. Uncle Sean smiled faintly. It's just chopping trees. What knife technique is there to talk about? Zhou Hao did not say anything. He just quietly watched Uncle Sean chopping bamboo. Today was the first time he saw Uncle Sean chopping trees, but he found that his technique contained a very profound mystery. From afar, Uncle Shan's movements looked like he was drawing circles. Whether it was the movement of his arms, the changes in his footsteps, or the trajectory of the chopping knife, they all formed circles. Zhou Hao felt that Uncle Shan's entire body was like the image of a taiji yin-yang fish. Unknowingly, Uncle Shan's movements had returned to Zhou Hao's mind one by one. Zhou Hao's mind was also moving along with Uncle Shan's movements. The more he observed, the more Zhou Hao felt that this was a profound and extraordinary saber technique. There were no gorgeous moves or intimidating auras. Zhou Hao even felt that Uncle Shan's saber was swung along with the flow of the air. Everything was so natural. Yes, Uncle Shan seemed to have become one with nature. Furthermore, looking at Uncle Shan's movement of swinging the blade, the Qi Nourishment Record's genuine aura in Zhou Hao's body started circulating automatically. Finally, Zhou Hao couldn't help but stand up and walk in front of Uncle Shan. He smiled and said, "Uncle Shan, can I give it a try? You should have come to help a long time ago. You can go and watch an old man like me work." Uncle Shan smiled and handed the knife in his hand to Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao took the knife and looked at the knife that had a lot of holes. That's right, it was just an ordinary knife. Zhou Hao imitated Uncle Shan's movements and followed the flow of the air. He raised the knife and swung it diagonally at a bamboo tree in front of him. Crack! Crack! The bamboo fell with a sound. However, even though Zhou Hao had cut the bamboo in half, it was because of his own strength. The cut was not as neat as Uncle Shan's. Uncle Shan smiled and shook his head. "This won't do. Not only do you have to have smooth movements, you also have to recognize this bamboo and find the best incision." He looked deeply at the bamboo next to him and said to Zhou Hao, "You have to feel it. As the saying goes, know yourself and your enemy, and you can win 100 battles. You can't rely on brute force alone. Also, pay more attention to the flow of the wind. Let it become your help." "You try again," Uncle Shan said to Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao took a deep breath and slowed down his breathing. He quietly felt the air flow around him and the bamboo in front of him. At this moment, he seemed to have discovered a circular trajectory in front of him. He could not help but follow the trajectory and slash down. With a light sound, the bamboo in front of him neatly broke and fell down. Uncle Shan looked at Zhou Hao with an unusual expression. "You are really talented. You have mastered the trick so quickly." Zhou Hao smiled and said, "But compared to Uncle Shan, you are still far from it. Ha 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 ha. As long as you chop firewood like me for decades, you will also have this skill." Then, Uncle Shan told Zhou Hao some more secrets. Even though from the beginning to the end, Uncle Shan did not teach Zhou Hao any moves. However, Zhou Hao felt that this was the same as Taiji Fist. It was a kind of teaching of martial arts ideology. Uncle Shan's enlightenment could even be compared to Dr. Gong's son, who had led him into the martial arts door. It was no different from opening another door for Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao and Xiao Jiming did not have much clothing, so it was very convenient for them to come and go. After bidding farewell to the Taoists from Yunlu Palace, they left. On the way down the mountain, Xiao Jiming asked Zhou Hao, "Martial uncle, do you think Uncle Shan really knows martial arts?" Zhou Hao shook his head. "I don't know either. He doesn't have any inner energy in his body. He doesn't even know Tai Chi." He raised his head and looked at Mount Hong, which was surrounded by clouds and mist. "But I think Uncle Shan is the one with the highest cultivation in martial arts in Mount Hong." Xiao Jiming scratched his head. "I don't really understand your method of chopping firewood. Is that really a blade technique?" "It's not just a saber technique," Zhou Hao sighed. "You can even think that it's another kind of martial arts heart technique." He raised his hands and started to wave them according to Uncle Shan's method, even though he did not have a blade in his hands, or he did not need a blade or anything else. Zhou Hao's movements were as smooth as flowing water, drawing circles one by one. In Xiao Jiming's eyes, Zhou Hao's movements were both similar to Taiji Fist, but also somewhat different. The strong, genuine aura in Zhou Hao's body began to flow along with the movements of his hands. When the circles in Zhou Hao's hands were pushed out, the genuine aura in his body also had an impulse to leak out. Qi. When Zhou Hao's palm cut through the air, a force suddenly escaped from his palm and cut through the air, hitting a pine tree in the distance. The pine tree that looked to be several decades old actually fell straight down just like that. Moreover, the cut was unusually neat, and even a sharp knife would not be able to achieve such an effect. Not only Xiao Jiming, even Zhou Hao himself was stunned. Zhou Hao stared blankly at his palms. Obviously, he had never thought that it would have such an effect. Xiao Jiming also murmured, "Could it be? Could this be the legendary saber chi?" Zhou Hao believed that the so-called saber chi was actually formed by a powerhouse with high inner energy injecting their genuine aura into the saber. As long as the inner energy was deep enough, it would not be difficult to do so. However, the Mr. Jingo whom Zhou Hao met earlier, even though he did not have a blade in his hand, Zhou Hao could still feel the blade energy in his hand. However, instead of calling it saber chi, it was more like a saber intent. It was something that could only be obtained after being immersed in the saber art for many years and comprehending it. What Uncle Shan taught Zhou Hao just now was not any moves or saber techniques, but a type of martial arts spirit, which was somewhat similar to Mr. Jingo's saber intent. Uncle Shan did not have any inner energy on him, but he was able to use such power with a worn-out wooden saber. This was actually caused by his saber intent. The knowledge of martial arts is really extensive and profound, Zhou Hao said with a sigh. He had stimulated his potential completely because of the transformation of the amber fruit, so no matter what he learned, it was much easier than others. Just like when he was cultivating the Qi nourishment records, his cultivation base was much stronger than Dr. Gongsun, who had been cultivating in this path for more than half a month. His inner energy was also comparable to the effect of 100 years of hard work from an ordinary person. With such a deep and solid foundation, and now that he experienced the saber intent that Uncle Shan taught him, Zhou Hao's cultivation level in the martial arts path became deeper, and his realm also became higher. Arriving at the foot of the mountain, Zhou Hao gave his family a call to tell Yin Tong that he was safe. When do you plan to come back? Yin Tong asked over the phone. About a month, Zhou Hao answered. Yin Tong said, your school has prepared an exam for you. You should come back as soon as possible. While chatting with Zhou Hao, Yin Tong accidentally mentioned Li Ruolin. I have not seen Teacher Li during this period of time. A few days ago, I thought that the school would ask her to extend the leave for you. But the school said that Teacher Li hasn't returned yet. I heard that she also applied for leave from the school. What? Sister Lan, Teacher Li hasn't returned to the school yet? Zhou Hao was stunned. Mom, do you know why Teacher Li asked for leave? Zhou Hao asked nervously. Yin Tong only treated Zhou Hao's reaction as her student's concern for her teacher and did not doubt him. She said, I also asked your principal. He said it seemed to be because something happened at home. So he applied for 2 months of long leave from the school. Her classes were all replaced by English teachers from other classes. Hearing Yin Tong's words, Zhou Hao became even more worried in his heart. The closest contact with Li Ruolin was about half a month before Zhou Hao went to Mount Hung. At that time, he told Li Ruolin that he was going up Mount Hung. As Mount Hung had not connected to the phone and the signal of the mobile phone was not covered, he could not contact the outside world. On the phone, Li Ruolin also said that she was going back to school. She also asked Zhou Hao to go back as soon as possible to avoid making her worry. But now, Li Ruolin suddenly applied for 2 months of long leave from the school. Zhou Hao knew very well that with Li Ruolin's extremely responsible personality, if she did not really encounter an emergency, she would not throw away her classmates who got off work like this. After ending his conversation with Yin Tong, Zhou Hao immediately dialed Li Ruolin's home number. Before she left Xiang City, he had told Zhou Hao the number of her parents' home. However, there was the sound of a telecom service coming from the phone. It said that it might be due to a malfunction and the number could not be answered. This made Zhou Hao even more anxious. Actually, he wanted to give Li Ruolin a mobile phone back then. Li Ruolin already had a real relationship with Zhou Hao and knew that Zhou Hao was very rich. But every time Zhou Hao wanted to give her a valuable gift, she would not accept it. Zhou Hao knew that she was a person with self-esteem, and it was not for any benefit that she was with him. AI, what should I do now? Zhou Hao muttered to himself. Xiao Jiming, who was standing next to him, also said nervously when he saw Zhou Hao's reaction. What's wrong, Martial Uncle? Did something happen at home? Zhou Hao shook his head. It's not at home. It was a friend of mine who seemed to be in trouble. I can't contact her now. She must be a good friend of yours, Uncle Master. Xiao Jiming said. Martial Uncle, where does your friend live? You can go and find her. Yes, I can go and find her. Zhou Hao slapped the back of his head hard. He looked at Xiao Jiming. But I still have to go with you to Hubei. Xiao Jiming laughed and said, Martial Uncle, It was not like he was a child anymore. Besides, I'm afraid I know more about herbs than you. Also, you've told me all the drawings and characteristics of those herbs. Don't worry, Martial Uncle. I can handle it by myself. You can go and find your friend. Zhou Hao was 100% assured about Xiao Jiming. So he said, Jiming, I will leave it to you. If there's anything you need, you can call me. Also, be careful. Zhou Hao had already taught Xiao Jiming the Qi nourishment records. However, because he had started too late, although Xiao Jiming's martial arts had improved a lot, his inner cultivation level was still very low. Especially in front of those true inner sect experts, they basically had no ability to resist. After that, Zhou Hao parted ways with Xiao Jiming. Xiao Jiming boarded the train to Hubei, while Zhou Hao boarded the plane to Jiangsu. Li Ruolin's hometown was in Yangzhou in Jiangsu province, and Li Ruolin was also an authentic Jiangnan beauty. Zhou Hao first took the plane to Nanjing, then took the train from Nanjing to Yangzhou. As the saying goes, fireworks in 3 months go to Yangzhou. It was now 3 months, but it was the best time to visit Yangzhou. However, Zhou Hao did not come to Yangzhou for sightseeing. Compared to other tourists, his mood was completely different. Li Ruolin had once mentioned her home. The address was Chu Feng Street in Guangling district of Yangzhou City. Therefore, the moment Zhou Hao walked out of the train station, he went straight to the taxi and headed towards Chu Feng Street in Guangling district. However, when Zhou Hao came to Chu Feng Street, he found that the row of residential houses on the left side of the street had been demolished. The remaining few houses stood there all alone, appearing very abrupt. Zhou Hao immediately asked the taxi driver, "Brother driver, have we been demolishing this place recently?" "Yes, I heard that the government wants to renovate this place because some real estate developers want to develop this place. But the residents here don't seem to agree with the demolition, so I'm not too sure about the specifics." The driver shrugged and said. Zhou Hao frowned. He subconsciously felt that Li Ruolin's matter might have something to do with the demolition. Zhou Hao also knew some of the dirty things that happened during the demolition process. Generally speaking, the government and developers were the ones who benefited the most from the demolition, while the residents who had their houses demolished would often become victims of complaints. When he arrived at a relatively intact residential building, Zhou Hao realized that there were not many residents left in the building. He stopped a passing auntie and politely asked, "What's the matter?" "Auntie, may I ask if you know where Li Chufan lives?" When the auntie heard Zhou Hao's words, she looked at him suspiciously and rudely asked, "Are you from the demolition office or the developer? Why are you looking for old Li and the others? Don't you think you've caused enough trouble for their family?" When Zhou Hao heard this, he thought to himself that Li Ruolin's family was indeed because of the demolition. He quickly said, "Auntie, you misunderstood. I am not from the demolition office or that developer. I am Ruolin's friend in Xiang City. 2 days ago, I heard that she applied for 2 months of long leave from the school. I was worried that something might happen to her, so I rushed over to see her." This auntie was clearly an old neighbor of Li Ruolin's family. She knew about the situation of Li Ruolin's family very well. When she saw that Zhou Hao was Li Ruolin's friend in Xiang City and also knew that she asked for leave from the school, she first believed Zhou Hao. She said, "Old Li and the others live in this building, 503. Young man, I see that you are a talented person and came all the way from Guangdong. Ruolin, and you are probably not as simple as ordinary friends." Although this auntie was old, her eyes were still very sharp. She said, "However, I don't think you can help old Li and the others." Sigh. She sighed. "A while ago, the government said that they wanted to tear down the residential buildings here and build a new community, but they only gave each household 20,000 yuan as compensation. What's the use of 20,000 yuan? My daughter already told me to move in with her, so it's better. But those old neighbors who don't have other residences are in trouble. If you tear down their houses, where are they going to settle down?" However, that developer was truly a good-for-nothing. When their people saw that some of the residents were unwilling to move, they beat them up and threatened them. They chased away more than half of the residents. Zhou Hao frowned when he heard that. Not to mention in the early days, even in the future, many cities would be filled with violence when it came to demolishing people, creating many social topics. He asked the auntie, "What about Ruolin's family? How are they now?" Old Li and the others naturally don't agree to relocate. Their daughter knows the law, so she wants to file a complaint with the government. But the word official is written on it. With 2 mouths, how can we, little commoners, be persuaded? The auntie sighed and said, "Old Li was originally the director of a state-owned factory in the city. After such a ruckus, that factory fired his job and did not even give him a pension." She looked up at the residential building and said, "Now I don't know where Old Li and the others are. I haven't seen them since yesterday." After hearing the auntie's words, Zhou Hao became even more worried. From the auntie's words, this developer was a typical example of being involved with the underworld, and he knew very well that Li Ruolin's stubborn temper would definitely not yield. This way, under the situation of fighting head-on, Li Ruolin would only be at a disadvantage. Especially since Li Ruolin was such a delicate beauty, it made Zhou Hao even more worried. At this moment, a police car drove over from afar and stopped in front of the residential building. After the police car's door opened, Zhou Hao saw Li Ruolin's parents, Li Chufan and Xieruqiu. He saw 2 policemen in uniform helping them out of the car. Li Chufan grabbed the policeman's arm tightly and begged with tears flowing down his face, "Police comrades, I beg of you, Please save my daughter. I'm begging you. I'm begging you. As he spoke, he was about to kneel down. The policeman quickly supported him. Mr. Lee, don't be like this. I said that we will find your daughter as soon as possible. Cierruccio, however, cried in grief and indignation. We already said that the person who kidnapped our daughter must be the developer. Why don't you go and catch them? Woo-woo-woo. Ruolin. Zhou heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly went over to support Li Chufan and Cierruccio. Uncle, Auntie, what happened to Ruolin? Li Chufan and Cierruccio were very puzzled by Zhou sudden appearance. You are. They had never seen Zhou, and Li Ruolin had never mentioned Zhou in front of them, so they did not know that Zhou was Li Ruolin's student. I am Ruolin's friend in Xiang City. I heard that she suddenly applied for 2 months of leave from school. I was worried that she had something to do, so I came to find her. Zhou also did not want Li Chufan and the others to know that he was Li Ruolin's student. Ruolin, she. Once Cierruccio mentioned Li Ruolin, tears started to flow out. At this time, he heard the policeman say to Zhou, you are a friend of their family, right? Then I will give them to you. You should comfort them. After saying that, he turned around and went back to the car. Li Chufan quickly pulled him back. Police comrades, I beg of you, quickly go and save my daughter. Also, go and arrest that developer. They are the ones who took my daughter. The policeman shook his head and said, Mr. Lee, there is no evidence. We cannot randomly arrest people. I promise you, we will find your daughter as soon as possible. Don't worry. After saying that, he pushed the police car away from Li Chufan's hand and left. Li Chufan and Cierruccio's mournful cries attracted the surrounding neighbors. Zhou and the aunt quickly helped Li Chufan and his wife to the side. Zhou also anxiously asked them, Uncle, Aunt, what happened? What happened to Ruolin? Where is she now? Li Chufan looked at Zhou. Are you Ruolin's friend in Xiang City? Yes, Uncle. Maybe Ruolin didn't tell you. Zhou said. He hesitated for a moment. Li Chufan told Zhou that the residential building they lived in was going to be demolished. 20,000 yuan is not enough for us to find another place to settle down in Yangzhou. But I saw that when the other residents said they didn't want to move, they were beaten up and threatened by those people. They also said that if we didn't agree, they would push down the buildings while we were sleeping. They might as well bury us underneath to build the foundation. Originally, I thought that although the houses were important, they weren't as safe as a family, so I decided to move them away. He sighed. But Ruolin said that these people are breaking the law, so we can go to the government to complain about them. Cierruccio, who was beside him, also cried, but the government did not care about our complaints at all. They even fired old Lee's work in the factory. Ruolin was not willing to give up. She just said that she wanted to sue them in the provincial government. When she said this, her tears flowed even more fiercely. Just yesterday, when we went back home with Ruolin, a van rushed over. Those few big guys kidnapped Ruolin. I know those people must be from that developer. We immediately went to the police station to report the case, but the police station only said that they would find Ruolin as soon as possible, but they were not willing to arrest that developer. When the Annie heard that, she also said angrily, Sigh, now it seems that those developers are in cahoots with the government. Aya, Ruolin fell into those people's hands. What should we do? Zhou's heart was concerned about Li Ruolin's safety. He clenched his fists tightly and made a hee-hee sound. The people in the police station did not arrest the developer. On one hand, it was because there was no direct evidence that the person who took Li Ruolin away was ordered by the developer. On the other hand, it was also as the Annie had said. The government might not have nothing to do with the developer, so they fired Li Chufan's job at the state-owned factory. He could not expect them to find Li Ruolin now. Zhou stood up and said to Li Chufan and Cierruccio with a determined look, Uncle and Auntie, don't worry. I will go and find Ruolin now. I will definitely find her. The Annie quickly grabbed Zhou's arm. Young man, don't be so impulsive. You can't defeat them alone. The other neighbors also tried to comfort Zhou. Even Li Chufan wiped the corners of his eyes and said, Zhou, we know you mean well, but those people might be gangsters. It will be dangerous for you to go alone. Don't worry, everyone. I will be fine. Zhou smiled and said, You can stay here and wait for me. After saying that, he turned around and walked out to stop a taxi. He left in a hurry. The aunt saw Zhou's disappearing figure and comforted Li Chufan and his wife who were sitting by the roadside. Now we can only count on that young man. Hopefully he can find Ruolin. Li Chufan and Cierruccio looked at each other. Thinking about his beloved daughter's life and death unknown, they could not help but shed tears. In the taxi, Zhou took out a $100 bill and handed it to the driver. Driver, May I ask if there is a casino in Yangzhou City? Since the person who kidnapped Li Rulin was a gangster, Zhou Hao would start from this aspect. The most direct and fastest way to find gangsters was to go to the casino. The driver's smiling subordinate, Zhou Hao, handed over the money and said, "There are indeed a few casinos. Which casino do you want to go and have some fun, sir?" "The biggest one," Zhou Hao said. Zhou Hao first went to the nearest bank to withdraw 100,000 yuan in cash. Then the driver took him to a restaurant in the outskirts of Yangzhou City. This restaurant was very large, and it looked no different from an ordinary restaurant on the surface. However, there was a 5-story building on the back of the restaurant. According to the driver, the building was the biggest casino in Yangzhou, owned by the gang leader of Yangzhou, Zhang Hu. Zhang Hu's nickname was also Tiger of Yangzhou. He was the biggest local snake in Yangzhou. Zhou Hao didn't have time to waste. After getting out of the car, he walked straight into the building. He was stopped by 2 security guards before he came to the gate. "What do you want?" Zhou Hao saw that the 2 security guards had guns on their waists, which showed that Zhang Hu was very powerful. He opened the bag containing the money and smiled at the 2 guards. "My hands are itchy. I want to have some fun." As he spoke, he took out 200 yuan notes from the bag and handed them to them. The 2 security guards took the money naturally, and their expressions softened. "Please come in." Walking into the lobby on the 1st floor, they saw a woman in a red qipao walking towards them. This woman was also considered young and beautiful, but compared to the seductive woman Zhou Hao had seen before, this woman in the qipao was just too ordinary. The woman said to Zhou Hao with a smile on her face, "Boss, this is your first time here, right? What kind of enjoyment do you want?" Zhou Hao purposely showed a lewd smile and pinched the woman's butt. "What good place is there to go?" When she saw the tall and handsome Zhou Hao, the woman's eyes were filled with spring as she leaned on Zhou Hao's shoulder. "The 2nd floor is a restaurant. You can eat anything. The 3rd floor is a casino. The 4th floor is a sauna. The 5th floor is..." She cast a flirtatious glance at Zhou Hao. "The 5th floor is a suite for you guys to enjoy. What about the boss? Do you want me to take you to the 5th floor?" After saying that, she deliberately used her thighs to rub Zhou Hao's lower body a few times. However, she heard Zhou Hao laugh and say, "This is still in broad daylight. It's not time yet. At night, I'll come and find you to have fun. Now, take me to the 3rd floor." The woman also smiled and said, "Okay." Fake seriousness. "Don't you men care about day and night?" She moved closer to Zhou Hao's ear and said in an ambiguous tone, "Then remember to come to me at night. My number is 15. "Of course. Who else would you look for if not you?" Zhou Hao touched her breasts. The woman's laughter became even more charming. She rolled her eyes at Zhou Hao, as if she was angry and embarrassed, and then led him to the 3rd floor. Zhou Hao followed the woman to the 3rd floor and saw this place. It was a spacious and well-equipped gambling hall, and its scale was similar to the underground casino when Shandong had in Emotion City. However, its pretentiousness was slightly inferior to the underground casino in Emotion City. However, compared to the other simple and crude underground casinos, this place was much more high-end. Moreover, there were no chips provided here, and they relied on cash to gamble. Zhou Hao took out a few hundred yuan notes and handed them to the woman. When the woman saw that not only was Zhou Hao tall and handsome, but he was also young and rich, the splendor in her eyes became even more intense. That gaze only wished to eat Zhou Hao whole. "Handsome, remember to come and find me tonight. Even if you lose all your money, it's fine. I'll make an exception and not charge you." Zhou Hao smiled and nodded. The woman turned around and left. She turned around and left. The smile on Zhou Hao's face disappeared immediately. Although the woman just now was young and beautiful, her figure wasn't bad either. However, Zhou Hao had no interest in this kind of woman who could sleep with thousands of people. What she did just now was just pretending to be nice to her. This gambling hall was very lively. Every gambling table was filled with people. Smoke curled up in the air, mixed with the shouts and curses of the gamblers. Zhou Hao looked around and then walked to a gambling table that played dice. There were also many gamblers around the gambling table. Zhou Hao looked at the dice cup in the middle of the gambling table and took out 100,000 cash from his handbag and placed it in the big square. When the surrounding people saw Zhou Hao being so forthright, they all cried out in surprise. At the same time, it also made the atmosphere of the table even more intense. "I'll buy it and leave it to you," the croupier on the opposite side said faintly and opened the dice cup. The 3 dice in the cup were 4, 5, and 6 points. There were a total of 15 points, big. The people who had won the bet shouted excitedly. When they saw Zhou Hao win twice the bet in one go, they were also very envious. When one of the gamblers saw how much money Zhou Hao had in his hand, He also took the initiative to give up his seat. Zhou Hao did not stand on ceremony and directly sat down. The croupier closed the dice cup again and pressed the button on the dice cup to turn the dice inside. After that, he said to everyone, "Please place your bets." Zhou Hao looked at the black dice cup and pushed the 200,000 in front of him onto the small grid. When the croupier opened the dice cup, everyone saw the dice inside were 1, 1, and 2. It was indeed small. With this, the money in front of Zhou Hao became 400,000. As for me, after the croupier finished spinning the dice, Zhou Hao directly placed the 400,000 on the 3-2 leopards. In this gambling hall, the odds for leopards were 32 times, but the chances of leopards appearing were also relatively lower. The others originally wanted to borrow Zhou Hao's luck to bet with him, but when they saw him bet all his money on leopard, they hesitated. "I'll buy it and leave it to you," the croupier said again. The others hesitated for a moment, but in the end, they didn't follow Zhou Hao. However, when the dice cup was opened, everyone cried out in shock, because the 3 dice were shockingly all 2 points, which was also the leopard. With that, Zhou Hao's 400,000 points immediately became over 10 million. The croupier opposite looked at Zhou Hao with cold sweat all over his head. He said in a trembling voice, "Mister, you." Zhou Hao coldly glanced at him. "I won. Give me the money." 8 million. No one had ever won so much money from this casino, including the croupier on the opposite side. All the surrounding gamblers were looking at Zhou Hao. They saw that even though he had won 3 rounds in a row and his gambling money had increased from 100,000 to more than 10 million, Zhou Hao's face did not have the kind of wild joy that a gambler should have. It was as if his victory was a matter of course. "Don't tell me the gamble god really came," some gamblers whispered to each other. "If it really is, then there will be a good show to watch. Let's see how the tiger of Yangzhou will deal with him." Some people crossed their arms and acted as if they were watching a good show. Some even seemed to be gloating over the misfortune of others. "I think the Yangzhou tiger is here to kick a restaurant. Let's hurry up and leave." It's not easy to provoke the Yangzhou tiger. There were also some people who were worried that they would be caught in the crossfire later. Zhou Hao coldly looked at the 30-something-year-old male croupier in front of him and said faintly, "What's wrong? Could it be that your casino can only lose money and not win money? Hurry up and give me the money I deserve." The surrounding gamblers had already been attracted by the situation here. Many people who were depressed from losing money saw that Zhou Hao had won so much money from the casino and joined in on the fun. "Sir, wait a moment. After all, more than 10 million is not a small amount. It is not easy to get it." The croupier didn't know what kind of background Zhou Hao had, so it didn't dare to make any rash moves. Thus, it deliberately smiled humbly and said. At this moment, 2 men walked over from afar. The croupier immediately whispered a few words to one of them. The man glanced at Zhou Hao in surprise, who was still sitting there with a cold expression. After that, he hurriedly walked over. The croupier continued to smile at Zhou Hao and said, "Sir, please wait a moment. Our people will go and get your money now." Not long later, a man in his 40s, his hair combed and shiny, slowly walked over under the escort of a few subordinates. Those subordinates were still holding the stainless steel plates used to carry wine glasses. However, what was on the plates were not wine, but stacks of neatly arranged cash. "Ah, the Yangzhou tiger is here." When the people beside saw the man, they called out softly. The gamblers outside who were joining in on the fun also quickly made way for the man. Zhou Hao looked at this ordinary-looking man who didn't have any outstanding features. He thought that this man should be the tiger of Yangzhou, Zhang Hu. Zhang Hu was also looking at Zhou Hao, and then he smiled. "Sir, you look unfamiliar. This is your first time visiting our casino, right?" He had never seen Zhou Hao before. Therefore, he did not know who this young man in front of him was. Zhang Hu had always been a man of his principles. Therefore, he wouldn't act rashly before knowing Zhou Hao's background. He had also sent someone to inquire about Zhou Hao just now. "That's right. I'm here to explore Yangzhou. I heard that this is the biggest casino in Yangzhou, so I came here to try my luck." "Didn't you say that you don't know how good your health is if you don't gamble and don't know how lucky you are?" Zhou Hao deliberately smiled and said. Zhang Hu also laughed a few times, then let his subordinates put the money on the table in front of Zhou Hao. "Friend, this is your money?" While the surrounding gamblers were exclaiming, Zhang Hu said to Zhou Hao, "Friend, since you were so generous to visit my place, how about this little brother act as a host and treat this friend to a drink?" However, Zhou Hao raised his hand and said, "No hurry, I haven't had enough fun yet. Let's play a few more rounds first." Zhang Hu's expression changed slightly. He had invited Zhou Hao to stop him from gambling, but Zhou Hao did not cooperate at all. He took a deep look at Zhou Hao and smiled. Since my friend is so interested, I will serve you this round. Following Zhang Hu's words, the male croupier quickly retreated to the side. Zhang Hu stood in front of the gambling table and pressed the button on the dice cup with both hands to turn the dice. Then he smiled at Zhou Hao and said, "Friend, please place your bet." Zhou Hao smiled. "Help me place all the money on 11. Zhang Hu's eyebrows jumped when he heard Zhou Hao's words. He knew that the 3 dice in the dice cup were 1, 5, and 5, which added up to 11. Zhou Hao had bet more than 10 million on this number. According to the 12 times odds in the casino, Zhang Hu would lose more than 100 million to Zhou Hao. Zhang Hu looked at Zhou Hao, who was sitting opposite of him, and wondered if he had really met an expert who knew how to listen to the die. However, Zhang Hu was an expert gambler himself. He knew that although the scenes in those gambling movies were exaggerated, there were some parts that were true. For example, there were some extraordinary people who could distinguish the sounds of different dice hitting the bottom of the dice, and thus achieve the goal of listening to the dice. However, in order to prevent experts in this aspect, the bottom of the dice cup in Zhang Hu's casino was covered with a special cloth, so he could not hear the sound of the dice hitting the bottom. But how could he guess that Zhou Hao was not an expert in listening to the dice at all? He just relied on his super strong intuition to judge. He watched as Zhou Hao bet all his money on the 11 points. Zhang Hu sneered in his heart. Although he was a gambling expert, he was actually a gambling expert, especially in today's society. All kinds of high technology had provided him with great help. This dice cup was equipped with a mechanism that could temporarily flip the dice in the dice cup to change the number of points. Zhang Hu's left index finger gently touched the bottom of the dice cup, and a warm smile appeared on his face. "I'll buy it and leave it to you." Although Zhou Hao did not see Zhang Hu do anything, he could feel that he was about to lose this round. Seeing Zhang Hu's faint smile that hid his pride, Zhou Hao looked at the dice cup and immediately knew that the dice inside had changed from 11 o'clock to 9 o'clock. "You underestimate me too much." Zhou Hao secretly sneered in his heart, then very naturally raised his right hand and lightly tapped on the table in front of him. Everyone, including Zhang Hu, thought that Zhou Hao's slap meant Zhang Hu to open the cup. However, Zhou Hao's genuine aura was spat out from his right hand and reached the dice cup through the gambling table. The moment Zhang Hu opened the dice cup, the dice in the cup became 2, 3, and 6 under Zhou Hao's control. The number was still 11. Actually, it was not that Zhou Hao really knew how to gamble. After being guided by Uncle Shan of Yunlu Palace, Zhou Hao's control over his genuine aura had become even more flexible. Internal experts could pour genuine auras into their weapons. Similarly, Zhou Hao could also pour his own genuine aura into the dice cup through the gambling table. The genuine aura was like a string that controlled a puppet, controlling the dice. Furthermore, this happened during the process of Zhang Hu opening the dice cup. From there, Zhang Hu no longer had the chance to make 1,000. Therefore, when the dice cup was opened and Zhang Hu saw that the number of dice inside was 11, a look of disbelief appeared on his face, and he looked at Zhou Hao in shock. When the surrounding people saw that Zhou Hao was going to win more than 100 million from the casino, they all shouted out loud, as if they were afraid that the world would not be in chaos. Zhang Hu's eyes sparkled as he looked at Zhou Hao. He knew that he had really encountered an expert this time. If he wanted to, he could take out this 100 million yuan. However, who would be willing to lose this 100 million? However, with so many people present, if he didn't take it out, Zhang Hu's reputation and the casino's reputation would be ruined, and no one would be able to come and visit him in the future. While Zhang Hu's facial expression kept changing, Zhou Hao opposite him said in a flat tone, "I also know about your difficulties, old brother Zhang. How about this? As long as you answer one of my questions, I'll let this one go." The surrounding people were in an uproar, wondering what the problem was. How could it be worth more than 100 million? Zhang Hu was also very surprised, and couldn't help but ask, "What is the problem?" Zhou Hao stared at Zhang Hu and slowly said, "Tell me, where is Li Ruolin?" Zhang Hu's face changed when he heard this. His reaction was even more intense than when he lost to Zhou Hao 100 million yuan. His reaction was equivalent to telling Zhou Hao that Li Ruolin was indeed captured by them, just as the gamblers on the side were guessing who Li Ruolin was. Zhang Hu suddenly said with a cold expression, "Everyone, I have some personal matters to deal with here. Our casino is closing early. Please leave first." Although Zhang Hu said it politely, everyone knew that he was going to deal with Zhou Hao. They also saw many aggressive people coming in from all the exits of the casino. No one wanted to get involved, so they didn't care about watching the show. They rushed to leave the casino. Soon, only Zhou Hao and Zhang Hu were left in the spacious casino. Zhang Hu had 50 to 60 men under his command. Many of them were holding weapons like steel rods and sabers. They surrounded Zhou Hao from a short distance. "Friend, are you here to pick a fight?" Zhang Hu narrowed his eyes and stared at Zhou Hao. He now understood Zhou Hao's series of actions. The ultimate goal was Li Ruolin. "It seems like you are the ones who captured Li Ruolin." Zhou Hao still sat there with his arms crossed. "If you hand Li Ruolin over, perhaps I can spare your life." Ha 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 ha. After hearing Zhou Hao's words, Zhang Hu laughed loudly. At this moment, his body emitted a wild and fierce qi. It was the true qi of a ferocious man. He looked like a man from the underworld. He turned to Zhou Hao and said with a sneer, "Do you know what this place is? This is Yangzhou. It's Tiger Zhang's territory. You dare to say that you will spare my life?" All of his subordinates started laughing out loud. None of them had ever dared to barge into Zhang Hu's territory by themselves and said that they would spare his life. However, Zhou Hao didn't show any signs of fear. He said to Zhang Hu, "Your life is yours. I hope you can consider it carefully." Zhang Hu scoffed at Zhou Hao's words, but he still asked, "What do you have to do with Li Ruolin?" "She is my woman. What relationship do you think I have with her?" Zhou Hao said expressionlessly. Zhang Hu smiled and said, "Then consider yourself unlucky." He looked at one of his subordinates next to him and said, "Kill him." After saying that, he stepped back. "Attack!" Zhang Hu's subordinate shouted at the people around him. He also took a machete from the person beside him and jumped onto the gambling table. He raised the machete and slashed at Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao shook his head. Because he cared about Li Ruolin's safety, he had accumulated a lot of anger, especially after confirming that this group of people were the ones who had taken Li Ruolin away. The killing intent in his heart became even more violent. He raised his leg and kicked the gambling table, right at the ankle of the person who had jumped onto the gambling table, causing him to lose his balance and fall forward. Zhou Hao punched the person in the face with his lower hook. There was a bone-chilling sound as the person was sent flying backward. His face was badly mutilated. However, this man's miserable condition did not make the others retreat. Instead, he held a steel pipe and a long saber and other weapons and rushed towards Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao coldly snorted and grabbed the edge of the gambling table in front of him with both hands. With the strength of his two arms, he easily lifted up the gambling table that was hundreds of kilograms in weight. While Zhang Hu was stunned, Zhou Hao used the gambling table as a weapon. With a wave of his hand, the dozen or so people around him were sent flying like baseball. Zhang Hu and the others had never seen such a situation before. All of them were stunned, but Zhou Hao still showed no mercy. In the blink of an eye, he knocked over a dozen people who couldn't dodge in time away. A minute. Kill him. Hurry up and kill him. Zhang Hu was also afraid at this moment. He shouted to his subordinates as he retreated. That subordinate hurriedly took out a pistol from his pocket and pulled the trigger at Zhou Hao, who was far away. Zhou Hao held the gambling table with one hand and lifted a stainless steel tray on the ground with the tip of his foot. He caught it with his hand and held it in front of his chest. Dang! The bullet hit the tray, but it did not hurt Zhou Hao at all. Zhou Hao looked towards Zhang Hu and threw the entire table over. Zhang Hu's reaction was pretty quick. He rolled to the side like a lazy donkey, but his subordinate, who was one step slower, was smashed to death by the table. When he looked at Zhou Hao again, Zhang Hu found that his remaining 20 or so subordinates only dared to hide far away and did not dare to attack Zhou Hao anymore. At this time, Zhou Hao walked straight towards him. Zhang Hu hurriedly took out his pistol, but just as he picked it up, he found that Zhou Hao, who was originally in front of him, had disappeared. Just as he was about to ask his subordinate, he felt a pain in his hand. The gun involuntarily slipped out of his hand and fell to the ground. Zhou Hao's figure also appeared in front of him. Without saying anything, Zhou Hao grabbed Zhang Hu's right hand and twisted it. After a heart-wrenching scream, Zhang Hu's right hand turned into a fried dough twist. Zhou Hao swept him down with his foot and then stepped on his neck. He looked down at Zhang Hu from above. His eyes were so cold that it made people shiver. "I will ask you one last time. Where is Li Ruolin?" Facing such a powerful Zhou Hao, even Zhang Hu, who dominated a region, couldn't help but be afraid. However, he still endured the pain coming from his right hand. He gritted his teeth and said, You better kill me." Zhang Hu's unyielding attitude surprised Zhou Hao. It seemed like there was someone else behind Zhang Hu. This tiger of Yangzhou was more like a subordinate under someone else's command, and he refused to tell anyone where Li Ruolin was. Obviously, he was afraid of the revenge of the person behind him. If this was the case, there was another person who ordered him to capture Li Ruolin. Looking at Zhang Hu, whose face was covered in cold sweat from the pain, Zhou Hao knew that even if he killed him, he would not be able to find Li Ruolin. Therefore, Zhou Hao did not make a sound and walked out of the casino without saying anything. Zhang Hu's subordinates didn't dare to stop this man who looked like a ghost. Therefore, Zhou Hao walked out of the building without any obstacles. It was already nighttime. No one knew that Zhou Hao had turned invisible the moment he walked out of the building. With his speed, no one would be able to see him. As Zhou Hao expected, less than a minute after he walked out of the building, a large group of people came out of the building and got into a car. It seemed like they were going to find out more about him. After these people left, Zhang Hu, who was injured, walked out of the building under the protection of more than 10 bodyguards. He got into a white Mercedes-Benz and quickly left the restaurant. Zhang Hu's subordinates also drove their cars and followed him. Zhou Hao took advantage of the time when one of them got into a Toyota car and quietly walked over to knock that person out with a palm knife. Then he drove the Toyota car into Zhang Hu's car. After leaving the restaurant, Zhang Hu and the others did not waste any time and went straight to the First People's Hospital of Yangzhou City. Perhaps they had called the hospital in advance, but there were already a few doctors waiting at the entrance of the hospital. When they saw Zhang Hu get off the car, they went over to greet him. When they saw Zhang Hu's right hand that looked like a fried dough twist, the doctors were shocked. One of them asked, "Mr. Zhang, did your hand get sucked into some kind of machine? How did it get injured like this?" Zhang Hu's face had already turned pale from the pain. He scolded the doctor, "Don't you King care about how I hurt you? Hurry up and help your mother give me painkillers. It hurts so much to your grandfather." After that, Zhang Hu walked into the hospital under the escort of the doctors and nurses, as well as his subordinates. When the other patients saw the formation, they thought that it was a senior leader who had been injured and hospitalized. Zhou Hao also followed behind them not far away. Zhang Hu's subordinates' attention was all on their boss, so they did not notice Zhou Hao who was behind them. The nurses only thought that Zhou Hao was also Zhang Hu's subordinate and did not stop him. Zhou Hao naturally did not follow Zhang Hu and the others into the ward recklessly. He only confirmed that Zhang Hu was in the 823 Special Care Unit in the hospital building and left. Zhang Hu was still considered a reputable person in Yangzhou. A few attending physicians from the orthopedics department in the hospital came over. When they saw Zhang Hu's exaggerated right hand, they were shocked. They first gave Zhang Hu anesthetics to help him stop the pain, and then they used some orthopedic tools. Several doctors worked together and used a lot of effort to correct the shape of Zhang Hu's right hand. However, after an X-ray examination, Zhang Hu's right hand bone was seriously injured. There were still some comminuted fractures in several places. Even if he recovered, he was afraid that he would not be able to use his strength anymore in the future. While Zhang Hu was receiving treatment, Zhou Hao went to Li Chufan and Xiaoruqiu's place. He was afraid that Zhang Hu's subordinates would find them. So he rushed to pick up Li Chufan and his wife and sent them to a 3-star hotel in Yangzhou City. "Zhou, did you find Rulin?" In the hotel suite, Li Chufan asked Zhou Hao. "Not yet." Zhou Hao shook his head, feeling a little lonely. "But uncle, don't worry. There is progress now. You guys stay here for now. Don't go anywhere, all right?" Li Chufan nodded. After Li Rulin was taken away, the couple had lost their minds. They subconsciously regarded Zhou Hao as their backbone. After settling Li Chufan and his wife down, Zhou Hao changed into a new set of clothes and went to the First People's Hospital of Yangzhou City. However, he did not go to Special Care Unit 823 where Zhang Hu was. Instead, he went to room 822 next to it. There were no patients in the ward. Zhou Hao opened the window of the ward and saw that there was a row of flower beds made of cement on the outer wall of the building outside the ward. Zhou Hao climbed out of the window and jumped onto the flower bed in room 823 from the window of room 822. As the night was getting darker and Zhou Hao's clothes were darker, no one noticed that there was an extra person on the outer wall of the hospital building. The curtain of ward 823 was also lowered, so no one inside noticed Zhou Hao. At this time, Zhang Hu had already finished receiving treatment. His entire right hand was covered with plaster, and he was now lying on the bed resting. Zhang Hu only had 2 subordinates left in the ward. There was also a beautiful young woman sitting beside his bed. She looked to be at least 10 years younger than Zhang Hu, and she also carried a 4- or 5-year-old boy in her arms. "Brother Hu, your injury is nothing, right?" the young woman asked Zhang Hu, who was on the bed. Zhang Hu shook his head, and a smile appeared on his pale face. "It's nothing. Don't worry." He reached out his left hand to touch the boy's head, and a kind expression appeared on his face. The little boy took a piece of orange and put it close to Zhang Hu's mouth. He smiled innocently and said, "Dad, eat it." Zhang Hu smiled and ate the orange. He smiled and said, "Little tiger, you are so good." Then he looked at the young woman and said, "May, you can follow Little Tiger to live in the countryside for the next few days. Don't worry, I will bring you back soon. Brother who is it this time? Even you are so afraid. The young woman said with a serious expression. Zhang Hu could be seen sighing. To be honest, I don't know who that person is, but it's too scary. I suspect that he is the legendary martial arts master. He leaned his head against the bed. Actually, I had a premonition a long time ago. Previously, when young Master Liang said that he wanted to capture Li Ruolin, I had a very bad premonition. I didn't expect that it would really come true now. Zhou Hao, who was hiding outside the window, heard the word young Master Liang in Zhang Hu's mouth. He thought that there was indeed someone else who wanted him to capture Li Ruolin. Moreover, it was someone who even a mafia boss like Zhang Hu was willing to listen to his orders. The young woman named Mei said to Hu Zhang, Brother Hu, didn't you say that no one in Jiangsu would dare to offend you with young Master Liang around? Zhang Hu sighed and said, in Jiangsu, which is about 30% of the land, young Master Liang's words are indeed effective, but I don't think that person is a native of Jiangsu. Besides, I'm afraid that he isn't even afraid of young Master Liang. That would be troublesome, especially since Sir Liang is still in the provincial capital. If anything happens, I can only take responsibility for it. He touched the little boy's forehead. Don't worry about so much now. Just in case, you can bring little Tiger to stay in the countryside for a period of time. When this matter is over, I will bring you guys back. Mei nodded. Okay, Brother Hu, be careful. Little Tiger and I can't lose you. I will. Zhang Hu said to his two subordinates in the ward, send Madam and young master to the countryside of Zhenjiang. Remember to send more people. If Madam and young master lose a strand of hair, I will settle the score with you. Got it, boss. The two subordinates quickly replied. Thus, Mei brought the little boy and left the First People's Hospital under the protection of Zhang Hu's subordinates. Zhang Hu was indeed very nervous about his woman and son. He took a total of 20 people to protect Mei and the little boy. Mei and her son sat in a Mercedes-Benz, while the rest of the people were in 3 Mercedes-Benz cars. 3 Mercedes-Benz cars, 1 in front and 2 behind, protected the Mercedes-Benz car in the middle and drove out of Yangzhou City. When the motorcade arrived on the road in the outskirts of Yangzhou City, a Toyota car quickly caught up. Isn't that Ah Chang's car? Why is he here too? One of the people in the van shouted. The rest of the people looked out the window and saw the Toyota car with a buzz cut. As for that Ah Chang, he must be the person who had been knocked out by Zhou Hao earlier. Because the window of the Toyota was tightly shut and the sky was dark, they could not see the person in the car clearly. Just as they were puzzled, they saw the Toyota suddenly accelerate and catch up to the Mercedes-Benz in front of Mei and her son. Then, without any forewarning, it cut diagonally in front of the Mercedes-Benz and blocked the Mercedes-Benz. This sudden turn of events forced the 2 cars behind to turn and brake urgently to avoid bumping into the Mercedes-Benz and causing Mei and her son to be injured. However, in this way, one of the 2 business cars crashed into the cement fence on the side of the road. The other directly flipped over on the side of the road, causing the people inside to fall. After stopping the Mercedes-Benz car, a figure immediately walked out of the Toyota car. It was Zhou Hao. He spared the Toyota and went to the side of the Mercedes-Benz. With one punch, he shattered the window of the driver's seat. The driver was about to pull out his gun, but was punched by Zhou Hao and immediately fainted. Zhou Hao agilely snatched the gun from the driver's hand. Without any hesitation, he shot the other man in the passenger's seat and killed him on the spot. Mei, who was in the back seat, had long been stunned by this series of defense. She only knew how to subconsciously protect her son in her arms. At this time, the business car that was originally walking in front of the Mercedes-Benz also noticed the situation and hurriedly retreated. Zhou Hao raised his gun and blew up the 2 rear wheels of the Mercedes-Benz. He then pulled down the unconscious driver from the driver's seat and kicked the man's body out of the car. After closing the door, he drove the Mercedes-Benz away. The few of them jumped out of the MPV. They wanted to chase the Mercedes-Benz, but there was no way they could catch up. The Mercedes-Benz quickly went far away. In the car, Mei was sitting in the back seat with her son in her arms. She looked at Zhou Hao, who was sitting in the driver's seat with a cold face. When she thought of Zhou Hao's ruthless and efficient means just now, Mei couldn't help but feel a wave of fear, afraid that he would hurt her and her son. Seeing the mother and son curled up behind him, Zhou Hao said slowly, "As long as you listen to me obediently, I won't hurt you." Mei timidly looked at Zhou Hao and summoned her courage to ask, You are the one who hurt Brother Hu? Zhou Hao did not answer her question. Instead, he asked, "Tell me first, who is that young Master Liang?" Through Mei's explanation, Zhou Hao finally knew what was going on. It turned out that this young Master Liang's name was Liang Fengshan. He was the son of the Jiangsu provincial governor, Liang Zhendong. The developer who wanted to develop the block where Li Ruolin's family lived was called Phoenix Real Estate Development Limited. There was a rule in the country that the relatives of officials were not allowed to do business in the place they worked. Although this Phoenix Real Estate Development Company was not under Liang Fengshan's name, its boss was just a puppet of Liang Fengshan. Since Liang Fengshan, this official government office, wanted to develop that old block, the city government would naturally cooperate more. As for Zhang Hu, who was the leader of the underworld in Yangzhou, he was actually just an eagle dog under Liang Fengshan. He would fight wherever Liang Fengshan pointed. Because Li Ruolin did not agree to relocate, she first went to the government of Yangzhou to file a complaint. However, everyone in the government knew that this matter involved Liang Fengshan, so how could they accept it? After that, Li Ruolin wanted to go to the provincial government to file a complaint, which alarmed Liang Fengshan himself. Originally, he thought that Hu was the one who did not know how to appreciate favors and had to deal with her properly. But when Liang Fengshan saw Li Ruolin, he was immediately shocked. Not only did he not investigate Li Ruolin, he also promised her that as long as Li Ruolin was willing to be his woman, he would give Li Ruolin's parents a villa. If Li Ruolin wanted money, he would give it to her. If she wanted a car, he would give it to her. Although Li Ruolin's family background was ordinary, with her personality, how could she like a playboy like Liang Fengshan? Furthermore, her heart had long been filled by Zhou Hao. Therefore, she did not give Liang Fengshan any chance. In a fit of anger, Liang Fengshan ordered Zhang Hu to kidnap her. After listening to the whole story, Zhou Hao gnashed his teeth in hatred. Even the steering wheel of the car was dented by him. Seeing this, Mei, who was behind, was shocked. She thought, if Zhou Hao were to pinch someone, wouldn't that be too much? From this, she finally understood how Zhang Hu's right hand, which looked like a hemp flower, was made. After that, Zhou Hao learned from Mei that she was actually not Zhang Hu's legal wife. She was one of Zhang Hu's lovers. However, Zhang Hu's wife and other lovers couldn't give birth to a man and a woman. A few years ago, Mei worked in the countryside to Yangzhou. She happened to be a waiter at a restaurant under Zhang Hu. Zhang Hu saw that Mei was young and beautiful, so he found a night to drug her. Mei had a rebellious personality. Furthermore, Zhang Hu was rich and powerful, so he was very generous to his woman. Being his lover was always better than being a waiter. After being Zhang Hu's lover for less than a year, Mei was pregnant with Zhang Hu's child. This made Zhang Hu wild with joy. In addition, Mei's weak personality could arouse a man's desire to protect her. So after Mei successfully gave birth to a son for Zhang Hu, her position in Zhang Hu's heart was even higher than his wife's. Looking at the innocent little boy in Mei's arms, Zhou Hao sneered in his heart. With this pair of mother and son, he wasn't afraid that Zhang Hu wouldn't give in. Furthermore, Zhang Hu was in the First People's Hospital. Just as he wanted to call Liang Fengshan to tell him about Zhou Hao, he suddenly received a call from his subordinate. What? Madam and young master were both taken away. Zhang Hu jumped off the bed and waved his right hand with an excited expression. He felt a piercing pain. He gritted his teeth and endured the pain. He shouted into the phone, "How the F***ck do you work? So many people were able to make Madam and young master be taken away?" In fact, he knew that the person who took away Mei and her son was definitely Zhou Hao. If it was Zhou Hao, no matter how many people there were, they would not be able to stop him. However, Mei and her son were the root of his life. Therefore, even though he knew that this couldn't all be blamed on his subordinates, he still couldn't suppress his anger. Go and find them all. You must find them. Do you hear me? We must find them. If anything happens to Madam and young master, I will bury all of you in cement bricks. Zhang Hu roared into the phone. After putting down the phone, he softly fell onto the bed. Even in the face of death, he did not feel so weak and uneasy. But his woman and son were taken away, which grabbed the softest part of his heart. The reason why he didn't tell Zhou Hao where Li Ruolin was earlier was because he was afraid that Liang Fengshan would harm his family if he knew. Not long after, his phone rang again. Zhang Hu's heart skipped a beat. He looked at the phone in his hand. On it was an unknown number. He was almost certain that this was definitely a call from Zhou Hao. Trembling his hands, he pressed the answer button and placed the phone beside his ear. Hello? Older brother Zhang. The injury on your hand is much better, right? Indeed. Zhou Hao's voice came through the phone. Mei and her son. Are they in your hands? Zhang Hu's throat felt sore. On the other side of the phone, Zhou Hao chuckled. Oh, you mean sister-in-law and the others? That's right. I invited sister-in-law and the others back as guests. I didn't greet elder brother Zhang first. I was being rude. Can I hear their voices? Zhang Hu took a deep breath and said. Not long after, Amei's voice came from the phone. Brother Hu, I am Amei. Little Hu and I are safe. Amei, you. Zhang Hu still wanted to say a few more words to Amei, but Zhou Hao was already on the other side of the phone. Zhou Hao's voice was no longer polite. Instead, it was cold. Zhang Hu, now our situation is finally somewhat similar. My woman is in your hands, and your woman and son are in my hands. You can decide what you want to do. Late at night, Zhang Hu left the First People's Hospital of Yangzhou City with his two subordinates. As soon as his car left the hospital, Zhou Hao, who had been waiting at the entrance early in the morning, went in and sat next to Zhang Hu. Zhou Hao, who was sitting next to him, made Zhang Hu feel uneasy. He had been in the underworld for many years, but he had never been threatened like he was now. At the same time, Zhou Hao's aura made Zhang Hu, the leader of the underworld who had his hands covered in blood, feel uneasy. Although he still had no idea about Zhou Hao's background, just Zhou Hao's unpredictable skills and his unpredictable movements were enough to scare him. Where are Amei and the others? Zhang Hu composed himself and asked Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao looked at him calmly. Don't worry. They are safe now. As long as my woman is safe, they will be fine. After a pause, Zhou Hao's voice suddenly became gloomy. But if anything happens to my woman, I want them to pay me back tenfold or 100-fold. Do you understand? Zhang Hu's body trembled. I understand. He said to Zhou Hao, yesterday, after I asked someone to take Miss Li away, young Master Liang rushed back to the provincial capital because of old Madame Liang's birthday, so he didn't have time to harm Miss Li. The old Madame Liang he spoke of was Liang Fengshan's grandmother. It's best this way. Otherwise, their Liang family will be doomed. Zhou Hao narrowed his eyes and said. What he said was the truth in his heart. Although with his current strength, he might not be able to deal with Liang Fengshan. However, if something really happened to Li Rulin, Zhou Hao would use his martial arts to make the Liang family return the debt. Furthermore, he was confident that he could do it without anyone knowing. Zhou Hao thought that this was probably the meaning of the so-called using martial arts to break the rules. Zhang Hu saw the murderous aura that came from Zhou Hao's body when he said this and could not help but tremble. Although he was a gangster, he was just like those influential people in the upper society, afraid of people who would risk their lives for nothing. Zhang Hu's car quickly arrived at a newly built villa area in the outskirts of Yangzhou. According to Zhang Hu, Li Rulin was arrested and brought to a villa where Liang Fengshan was. When the car arrived in front of this luxurious European-style villa, Zhang Hu said to Zhou Hao, who was beside him, the people inside are all young Master Liang's men. They won't listen to my orders. When you follow me in later, don't act rashly. For the sake of his woman and son, he could only spend some effort to let Zhou Hao enter the villa smoothly. Two men at the entrance of the villa walked to the car and Zhang Hu lowered the window. One of them saw Zhang Hu in the car and laughed. Haha. So it's Tiger Zhang. Why did you come here so late at night? It's not like you don't know that our young master is still in the provincial capital. Another man beside him smiled and said, Tiger Zhang, don't tell me you're thinking of getting that woman. Hee hee. That's the woman that our young master has his eyes on. If you have the guts, go and try it. We are very interested in watching the show. Zhang Hu hurriedly smiled and said, You two are joking. The woman that young Master Liang has taken a fancy to, I wouldn't dare touch even if you gave me the guts of a leopard with a bare heart. It's just that today, a fellow went to my territory and said that he wanted to find that woman. He even injured many of my subordinates. That fellow seems to know martial arts, and even I was injured by him. He deliberately let the two men outside see his right hand, which was still covered in plaster. I told young Master Liang about this. He specially asked me to come and see that woman. That guy knows martial arts? The man outside smiled. If he dares to come, I'd like to meet him. As he spoke, he raised his fist. Zhang Hu, who was in the car, swallowed his saliva. He thought to himself, brother, you better pray for yourself later. The two men didn't talk much with Zhang Hu. They opened the door of the villa and let Zhang Hu's car in. After entering the villa, Zhou Hao saw that it was heavily guarded. There were many men patrolling on the first and second floor. From their bulging waists, it was obvious that they were not ordinary people since each of them had a gun. Some of them are retired soldiers, and some are bodyguards hired by young Master Liang from outside. Zhang Hu reminded Zhou Hao. The two of them got out of the car and walked into the villa. One of the guards saw Zhou Hao following behind Zhang Hu and asked, Tiger Zhang, who are these people? Why haven't I seen them before? Zhang Hu smiled and said, This is a bodyguard I specially asked someone to find. He can be trusted. Zhang Hu had been working under Liang Fengshan for a long time. He was also Liang Fengshan's trusted subordinate, so Liang Fengshan's guards trusted Zhang Hu. Therefore, Zhang Hu and Zhou Hao went up to the second floor smoothly. There was a room at the end of the corridor on the second floor. A man in a suit was guarding the door. Zhou Hao knew Li Rulin should be in that room. He couldn't help but feel anxious. Zhang Hu brought Zhou Hao to the door of the room. He smiled at the man and said, "I want to go in and see her." The man nodded. "Sure, but I have to be there." Zhang Hu hesitated for a moment and smiled when he saw that Zhou Hao did not have any reaction. Of course, of course." The man opened the door and pushed it open. Zhang Hu and Zhou Hao followed him in. The room was spacious and luxurious. There was also an independent bathroom and toilet. Li Rulin was sitting on the sofa over there. She was fine, but her face was a little haggard, but it added to her delicate beauty. When she heard the sound of the door opening, she subconsciously turned her head and saw Zhou Hao behind Zhang Hu. "Xiao Hao." When she suddenly saw Zhou Hao, tears mixed with longing and calling rushed out together. The man in charge of guarding knew it was bad when he saw Li Rulin's reaction. He quickly turned to Zhou Hao and put his hand on the gun at his waist. However, just as he turned around, Zhou Hao's finger had already touched his chest, making him unable to move and lose the ability to move. Zhang Hu, who was standing beside him, saw that Zhou Hao was able to make such a big man unable to move even a little bit. He was even more certain that Zhou Hao was the legendary martial arts master. After subduing the man, Zhou Hao immediately rushed towards Li Rulin. Li Rulin immediately got up from the sofa and threw herself into Zhou Hao's arms. She cried softly and weakly, "Xiao Hao! Xiao Hao!" Since the day she left Xiang City, Li Rulin had never stopped thinking about Zhou Hao. Even she complained about herself. How could she be so disappointing that she was captivated by her own student? When she encountered the demolition, she also wanted to ask Zhou Hao for help. However, when she thought about how Zhou Hao was searching for medicine on the mountain, she did not want to disturb him. She didn't expect that she would be captured by Liang Fengshan's people and cut off all contact with the outside world, making it so that she couldn't ask for help. This made her longing for Zhou Hao even more uncontrollable. She hoped that he would be able to save her from the fire pit. Leaning tightly in Zhou Hao's arms, Li Rulin sobbed, "Xiao Hao, I knew you would come and save me. I knew it." Zhou Hao also hugged Li Rulin and continuously kissed her forehead and eyes. "Sister Lan, this is great. It is great that you are fine." Luckily that fellow surnamed Liang had something to do and left at the last minute. Otherwise, Li Rulin also had lingering fear in her heart. At the same time, she looked at Zhou Hao with a firm expression. "If he really wants to insult me, even if I die, I will keep my word for you." Looking at Li Rulin's firm expression, Zhou Hao said with heartache, "Silly, I don't want Sister Lan to die." He knew Li Rulin's character was stubborn. If she really faced Liang Fengshan's insult, she would definitely rather die than submit. Thinking of this, Zhou Hao could not help but feel a lingering fear. 2-2. At this time, Zhang Hu stopped the two of them who had reunited after the catastrophe. "We don't have much time left. If you don't mind, can we leave this place first?" Li Rulin wiped away her tears and looked at Zhou Hao doubtfully. "Xiao Hao, why did you follow him?" She recognized Zhang Hu. It was him and a few big men who had kidnapped her downstairs. "It's a long story. Let's leave this place first," Zhou Hao said. Zhou Hao led Li Rulin out of the room, and Zhang Hu followed behind them. As soon as they left the room, Zhou Hao saw two guards walking up the stairs. Without saying a word, he raised his hand and pointed at the two of them. He controlled their acupuncture points and made them stand there like stones. After quickly walking down the stairs, the other guards immediately noticed Zhou Hao and the others. One of them shouted at Zhang Hu, "Tiger Zhang, you dare to betray young Master Liang?" Zhang Hu didn't know what to say, and the situation didn't allow him to say anything. All of the guards wanted to take out their guns. However, their movements were far inferior to Zhou Hao's. Before they could take out their guns, all of their acupuncture points had been sealed by Zhou Hao. When they left the villa, they were standing guard at the door. When the two of them saw Li Rulin, they knew that something had happened and immediately rushed over. Seeing that Zhou Hao and the others could break through so many guards, one of them reacted. He pointed at Zhou Hao and asked Zhang Hu, "He is the one who injured you, right?" Zhou Hao smiled at the two of them. "Didn't you say you wanted to see it? Now we have a chance." The two of them looked at each other, but at the same time, they stretched their hands to their waists. However, just as they touched the gun, they saw Zhou Hao raise his palm and wave at them twice. He threw out two blade auras and accurately cut open their belts, causing their guns to fall off. Zhou Hao also said, "How can a martial arts student rely on guns for everything?" Not only did Zhang Hu, who was standing next to Zhou Hao. Not even the two men saw Zhou Hao's blade energy. They thought that Zhou Hao had just released some kind of hidden weapon and cut off their belts. The two men looked at the handguns on the ground. They knew that if they bent over to pick them up, they would definitely be attacked by Zhou Hao. They looked at each other and couldn't help but feel regret for what they had just said. Indeed, they had cultivated martial arts since young, but that was just some martial arts. Although they were much stronger than ordinary people, they could only be slaughtered when faced with true experts. Now that they saw how easily Zhou Hao broke through the guards in the villa and came out, the two of them understood that he was a true martial arts expert. Just now, he said that he wanted to see Zhou Hao's martial arts, but now it seemed like he was boasting shamelessly. Now, it was not up to them to decide. If they let Zhou Hao take Li Rulin away like this, Liang Fengshan would definitely not let them go. Therefore, they shouted at the same time and rushed towards Zhou Hao together. They each raised their fists and lifted their legs, attacking Zhou Hao from both sides. Zhou Hao gently protected Li Rulin behind him, then raised his right foot as fast as the wind and kicked the two men in the face almost at the same time. The two men who had practiced martial arts for more than 10 years fell heavily to the ground under Zhou Hao's attack and completely fainted. Zhang Hu, who was standing beside them, looked at the two men who had fallen unconscious on the ground. He secretly shook his head, thinking that they were overestimating themselves. Without further ado, Zhou Hao and Li Rulin sat in Zhang Hu's car and quickly left the villa area. In the car, Zhang Hu took out 200,000 yuan from the leather bag in the car and handed it to his two subordinates in front of him and said to them, "You two are involved in this matter today. If young Master Liang finds out about this, he will definitely not let you go. Take this money and go somewhere else to hide." The two subordinates looked at Zhang Hu with gratitude. "Boss, don't talk so much. Young Master Liang is afraid that he will come back tomorrow. You guys should hurry up and leave tonight," Zhang Hu said. Looking at Zhang Hu's actions, Zhou Hao felt that he, as the boss, could be considered a righteous man. At this time, Zhang Hu also turned to look at Zhou Hao. "I have already helped you save your woman, so you should keep your promise and let go of my woman and son." Li Rulin, who was sitting next to Zhou Hao, heard what Zhang Hu said. She finally understood why Zhang Hu would help Zhou Hao. It turned out that it was Zhou Hao who had captured his woman and child. Li Rulin couldn't help but feel touched when she thought that Zhou Hao had done this for her sake. She held Zhou Hao's arm even tighter. She heard Zhou Hao say to Zhang Hu, "No problem. I will bring you to see them now. But that Liang Fengshan should know that you helped me save Sister Lan. What do you plan to do?" Zhang Hu sighed slightly. "I have already prepared the flight to Australia. I will bring Amei and her son there. Anyway, all these years, the money I earned is enough for me to spend for the rest of my life." He looked at Zhou Hao seriously. "I think you can't just leave like me, so I have to remind you to be careful of young Master Liang." He glanced at Li Rulin, then said to Zhou Hao, "Although young Master Liang had many women in the past, I can see that he is very interested in her. Young Master Liang will never let you go easily after you took her away. If he doesn't want to die, then come and try," Zhou Hao said with a casual smile. They came to the 3-star hotel where Li Chufan and his wife lived. Zhou Hao had given Amei and her son to Li Chufan and his wife to look after them, because Zhou Hao was worried about the others. When they arrived at Li Chufan and his wife's suite, Zhang Hu finally saw his wife and child. Rulin. Li Chufan and his wife saw Li Rulin appear in front of them and immediately walked forward with tears flowing down their faces. The family tightly hugged each other. It really felt like a lifetime had passed. "All right, we have to leave too. Otherwise, when young Master Liang comes back, we won't be able to leave even if we wanted to," Zhang Hu said to Zhou Hao. "Although we aren't considered friends, I still want to tell you to take care of yourself." "Same here." Zhou Hao smiled at Zhang Hu. After Zhang Hu and his family left, Li Chufan said to Li Rulin, "Rulin, you really have to thank Zhou this time. For you, he even brought Tiger's wife and son back." When Zhou Hao gave Amei and her son to them to look after, Li Chufan and his wife were still hesitating about the kidnapping and extortion. But for the sake of their daughter, they still gritted their teeth and did what Zhou Hao said. Fortunately, Li Rulin had already returned safely. Li Rulin looked at Zhou Hao, who was on the other side. Her eyes revealed a sweet smile, but when she thought of Zhou Hao's identity, she wanted to say something to her parents. However, she heard Xiaoruqiu smile and say, "Oh right, Zhou, we still don't know what you are doing in Xiang City." "Oh, uncle and aunt, I run a food and beverage company in Xiang City. The business is pretty good," Zhou Hao quickly said. Li Rulin was slightly stunned by Zhou Hao's words. She immediately understood that Zhou Hao did not want her own mansion to know that he was her student. Li Rulin also did not expose him because she knew that her parents were very conservative. If she knew that she and Zhou Hao were teacher and student, then the matter between the two would be over. As for the Mrs. Zhou's restaurant in Zhou Hao's family and the cake shop full of romance, they could be considered a food and beverage company. Therefore, Zhou Hao did not lie to Li Chufan and the others. Dad, Mom, let's go home first. Li Rulin did not want to stay in the hotel. Yes. Let's go back first. It's not a big deal to stay here. Li Chufan agreed as well. Therefore, Zhou Hao accompanied Li Rulin and her family back to Chu Feng Street. Since it was already late at night, therefore, even though those old neighbors were very worried about Li family, they had already returned home. Speaking of which, this was the first time Zhou Hao had visited Li Ruolin's house. The area was about 100 square meters. There were 3 rooms and 1 living room. The furnishings were relatively simple, and the furniture seemed a little old, but there was a strong sense of warmth. Xiaoruqiu poured Zhou Hao a cup of hot tea and smiled warmly at him. Zhou, I really have to thank you this time. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't know what to do. She looked at Zhou Hao with a smile. Zhou, have you known Rulin for a long time? Zhou Hao had said that he was Li Ruolin's friend in Xiang City, but in order to save Li Ruolin, he had even kidnapped and blackmailed her. Xiaoruqiu and Li Chufan did not believe that he and Li Ruolin were ordinary friends. Mom. Li Ruolin somewhat shyly called out to Xiaoruqiu. What is it? Xiaoruqiu rolled her eyes at her daughter. She then smiled at Zhou Hao. Actually, we are not those stubborn old people. Furthermore, Rulin has grown up. If she is in a relationship, we will not object. Li Chufan, who was beside him, said, What are you talking about? You should make Zhou feel embarrassed. Zhou Hao hurriedly smiled and said, It's fine, uncle. It's fine. Actually, Rulin and I. In order to not let Li Chufan and his wife know that he was younger than Li Ruolin, he directly called Li Ruolin Ruolin. Actually, Rulin and I are indeed in love. But we were afraid that uncle and aunt would blame us, so we didn't tell you. Hee, why would we blame you? Li Chufan said with a smile. He looked at Zhou Hao and felt that Zhou Hao was a talented man. Li Chufan was very satisfied with this prospective son-in-law, especially when the Li family was facing this unexpected event. Zhou Hao had shown his decisiveness and ability, which made people feel that he was very reliable. Li Ruolin saw that Zhou Hao had told her parents about their relationship and did not say anything. She only lowered her head shyly and sat beside Xiaoruqiu. Xiaoruqiu knew that her daughter was outstanding. Li Chufan's colleagues in the unit had come to their home to talk about marriage many times in the past. However, although the husband and wife were conservative, they did not have the intention of having their parents arrange a marriage. Li Ruolin was the one who made the decision on this marriage. Now that they had encountered this change, they also got to know Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao had lent a helping hand during the most difficult time in Li family. In Li Chufan and his wife's minds, it could be said that their first impression of Zhou Hao was perfect. Furthermore, knowing a daughter better than a mother, when she saw Li Ruolin's shy look, Xiaoruqiu knew that her daughter really liked Zhou Hao. With a face full of smiles, they looked at Zhou Hao, who was sitting opposite of them. In their hearts, Xiaoruqiu and Li Chufan had already regarded him as their son-in-law. Uncle, auntie. At this time, Zhou Hao said to them, Since the government has already put your block on the demolition list, I think you guys should stop persisting. Why don't you move away? Although he was also very dissatisfied with the demolition this time, especially Liang Fengshan, who was behind everything. But now, most of the residents had decided to move out. Li Chufan and the others could not continue to resist. Li Ruolin originally wanted to persist, but after this, she finally saw that it was very difficult for a small civilian to fight against the government and those who hid behind the government. And now that Zhou Hao came, she naturally took Zhou Hao as her master. But they only promised to compensate 20,000 yuan. Where are we going to move to? Li Chufan sighed. How about uncle and auntie come to Xiang City with Ruolin? If that's the case, we can go to Xiang City together. Ruolin, and I need to take care of you. It will be much easier. Zhou Hao suggested. Xiang City? Li Ruolin and her family were stunned. Zhou Hao smiled. Yes. Anyway, I have a house in Xiang City. It won't be a problem. How can this be? Li Chufan said. Zhou, you have already helped us so much. How can we still trouble you? His character was typical of self-reliance. Under normal circumstances, he would not be willing to receive favors from others. Li Ruolin's character was largely influenced by her father. Zhou Hao said, Do you want me to watch uncle and aunt live on the streets and watch by the side? Ruolin could still live in the dormitory when she returned to school. Then what about uncle and aunt? Uncle and aunt, there is no need to be so calculative. Could it be that you all still treat me as an outsider? Li Chufan and his wife looked at each other and thought in their hearts, right? Zhou isn't an outsider. If nothing unexpected happened, he and Li Chufan would become one family in the future. In that case, there was indeed no need to be calculative. Dad, Mom, just agree. I can also take care of you guys in Xiang City. Originally, according to Li Rulin's character, she did not accept Zhou sending her a mobile phone in the past. But now, since Zhou had already told Li Chufan and Xiaoruqiu about their relationship could be considered settled. Therefore, Li Rulin tacitly agreed to Zhou decision. Since her daughter had already said so, it would be hypocritical if Li Chufan and Xiaoruqiu refused again. At the same time, they were even more satisfied with Zhou, who was so considerate and considerate. They secretly thought that their daughter had really found a good person who could be entrusted to her for the rest of her life. Oh right, uncle, I heard that because of this matter, you were fired by the company. Zhou asked Li Chufan, Uncle, what is your factory producing? If you don't want to retire, I can help you find another unit of the same nature in Xiang City. Although retirement was a happy life without worries, many people actually didn't like to retire. To them, compared to retirement, continuing to display their talent in terms of position and showing their value was the real way to enjoy life. Li Chufan was satisfied with Zhou's consideration again. He said, Our factory is a state-owned factory. It specializes in producing soda, orange juice, and orange juice. It provides markets in Yangzhou and a few nearby cities. I am the director of the technical development department in the factory. I followed the technical team in the department to develop new products for the factory. Speaking of this, he sighed. I have been working in the factory for more than 10 years. I have been working in the factory for more than 10 years. I have been working in the factory for more than 10 years. Sigh, in the blink of an eye, it has been more than 10 years. He grabbed Zhou's shoulder and said, Zhou, let me tell you this. Back then, our factory was very powerful. The entire Jiangsu province drank the soda and orange juice that we produced. At that time, the leaders and workers in the factory were all united. They worked hard every day for the benefits of the factory. It's not like now. Sigh, people are not old. Li Chufan recalled the lively working environment in the past and thought about how everyone in the factory had left their hearts. He sighed with emotion. He said to Zhou, but in the past few years, when the Coca-Cola and Western soda started to enter the country, the benefits of our factory decreased year by year. Until now, we can only barely maintain the local market in Yangzhou, and every year we lose money. Also, the leaders in the factory are self-proclaimed, and they are not willing to introduce new products. In fact, how could we not know that if we want to introduce new products, we need to update the production equipment, both internally and externally? Those leaders are not willing to spend money for the factory. Most of the funds allocated by the country are in their pockets. Zhou knew a little about the cheating of these state-owned enterprises. The products of many state-owned enterprises were not bad. Their potential was also very high. However, it was because of the greed of those vermin that the state-owned enterprises suffered a crushing defeat when facing foreign companies. Li Chufan also heard Li Chufan say regretfully, What a pity. Our technology development department has just developed a new fruit juice formula. We originally wanted to give it to the factory. With this new product, our factory might be able to compete with those foreigners. When he heard Li Chufan say that he was the technical director of a state-owned fruit juice company, Zhou already had an idea. When he heard that they had developed a new product, he could not help but ask, Uncle, what new formula have you developed? Anyway, the leaders in the factory aren't willing to accept it. It's fine to tell you. Li Chufan said, We have developed a new formula. It is a new type of orange beverage. We plan to add orange fruit meat to the orange beverage. This will not only increase the taste of the orange drink, but also increase its nutritional value. Zhou was really shocked when he suddenly heard Li Chufan's words. This formula of theirs, wasn't it the orange fruit that would be popular in the country in the future? However, orange fruit was officially introduced to the market many years later. He did not expect Li Chufan and the others to have this idea now. Zhou had previously planned to set up a beverage company. Water and fruit sources were no longer a problem. Zhao Yuqin had also ordered the most advanced production equipment from Germany's H&AMK. Only professional scientific researchers were left. As for Li Chufan's technical team, which had even developed orange fruits, weren't they the ready-made candidates? Therefore, Zhou immediately said, Uncle, you said that the benefits of your factory are getting worse and worse in recent years. Have you thought about what the people in your technical department will do in the future? Uncle, please forgive me for being direct. Judging from the current situation, your factory will not be able to hold on for long. When that time comes, where will the people in the technical department go? Yes, this is what I'm most worried about. Li Chufan sighed. The old people in our department are still better, but those young men who have only been in the factory for 2 to 3 years. Originally, they were all full of enthusiasm, but now the atmosphere in the factory has almost worn them out. I really don't know what they will do if the factory closes down. Uncle, why don't you ask them to resign from their jobs? Zhou Hao said. What? Dismissed? Li Chufan looked at Zhou Hao in surprise. Zhou Hao said, Uncle, to be honest, I am preparing to set up a beverage company to mainly produce mineral water and various types of fruit juice. Currently, all aspects are being closely prepared. When I heard that you were the development director of a state-owned enterprise, I wanted you to be in charge of the technology development department in my company. Now that I think about it, I might as well hire the entire technology development team in your company. Li Chufan was also surprised when he heard this. Although many state-owned enterprises in the country had shown signs of decline in the market competition, many people still felt proud to work in state-owned enterprises. There were also very few people who were willing to give up stable jobs to challenge unknown environments. I guarantee that their salary and benefits will not be lower than yours, and I can even give them dividends at the end of the year. Zhou Hao said to Li Chufan, also, I can provide you with a perfect scientific research environment. You can use your strengths to develop your technology to your heart's content. In fact, compared to high salaries and dividends, a technical person like Li Chufan cared the most about the scientific research environment that Zhou Hao talked about. Therefore, after Li Chufan heard Zhou Hao's words, he couldn't help but be tempted. But he still said, I can help you talk to them, but I can't guarantee that they will agree to it. Thank you, Uncle. Zhou Hao smiled and said, But Uncle, you have to choose carefully. I don't want to recruit those lazy people to my company. Li Chufan smiled and said, There may be such people in other departments, but in our technical department, such people will never exist. Also, Uncle, do you still have the ownership of the recipe for the fruit beverage? Zhou Hao asked. Theoretically, the products developed by the technical department all belong to the factory. Li Chufan said, however, when we went to the factory to look for the leaders with this formula, they refused to introduce the products as usual. According to the usual practice, the ownership of these unapproved formulas will be returned to our developers. Zhou Hao smiled when he heard this. Hee, looks like your factory's leader is really a treasure. Uncle, I'm very interested in the recipe for your fruit juice. I hope you can invite all the developers in your technical department to my company. Alright, in my company, you'll still be the director of the technical department. For technical people, not only was a good scientific research environment able to attract them, but Bo Lu, who knew how to appreciate them, was also very important. Although Zhou Hao did not know much about the specific beverage production technology, with his experience in the beverage market, which had surpassed many years ago, Li Chufan, who had been doing technical work for more than 10 years, was convinced. Talking to Zhou Hao to his heart's content, Li Chufan really had a feeling that Zhou Hao had met him late. It had been a long time since Li Chufan chatted so excitedly and happily, especially when Zhou Hao occasionally flattered him without leaving any trace, which made Li Chufan even happier. Li Ruolin, on the other side, saw how considerate Zhou Hao was to make her father happy, and her heart was filled with sweetness and happiness. At this moment, Xiaoruqiu walked out and complained to Li Chufan, who was chatting happily. All right. It's almost time. Zhou is already very tired from helping us today. Just let him rest for a while. Zhou, I have already prepared the hot water for you. You should take a bath first. Okay, thank you, Auntie. Zhou Hao quickly said. Li Ruolin also took a set of pajamas and passed it to Zhou Hao. This is my dad's. These pajamas are a little looser to begin with. It should be suitable for you to wear. Zhou Hao's figure was not smaller than Li Chufan's, but because this set of pajamas was looser, there was no problem with it. When Zhou Hao took a comfortable hot shower in the bathroom, Li Ruolin had already tidied up the guest room, and Li Ruolin's room was next door. While Li Chufan and his wife were in his room, Zhou Hao smiled at Li Ruolin and said, Sister Lan, I don't want to sleep in the guest room. I want to sleep in the master room. Li Ruolin blushed when she heard Zhou Hao's words. She quickly turned around and looked into her parents' room. She rolled her eyes at Zhou Hao when she saw that they did not notice her. She said angrily, Disgusting. This is not Xiang City. You can sleep here tonight. After saying that, he pushed Zhou Hao into the guest room and closed the door. He leaned against the door, his heart pounding. In fact, how could she not miss the feeling of sharing the joy of fish and water with Zhou Hao? But her parents were still at home. If the two old men found out, it would be very awkward. Zhou Hao was in the guest room, thinking about Liang Fengshan. According to Zhang Hu, Liang Fengshan would be back tomorrow, especially now that Zhou Hao had rescued Li Ruolin. Liang Fengshan would definitely come back as soon as he got the news. At that time, he would definitely settle the score with Zhou Hao and the others. Unlike the enemies he had encountered in the past, Liang Fengshan was backed by the head of a province. The power and connections he represented were beyond the imagination of ordinary people. According to the current situation, although Zhou Hao and Liang Fengshan had yet to meet, the conflict between the two of them had already been resolved. Neither of them would give up easily. Although Liang Fengshan had a very powerful background, Zhou Hao wasn't afraid of a real confrontation. It didn't mean that Zhao Rixin would support Zhou Hao because of Zhao Yuqin. Old Master Zhao still didn't know about the relationship between his daughter and Zhou Hao, so even if he would protect Zhou Hao, it wouldn't be because of his daughter. Zhou Hao's biggest reliance was the prescription he provided to the military, the black jade ointment that he gave to Zhao Dingzhou earlier. Until now, it had been confirmed that its magical effects were inestimable to the use of soldiers on the battlefield. Furthermore, Zhou Hao still had many medicinal formulas in his hands. Because of this, Zhao family attached great importance to Zhou Hao. From a certain point of view, Old Master Zhao had already categorized Zhou Hao as one of the people in his camp. So, if Zhou Hao had any problems, Zhao family's camp would definitely come forward to help. Although Zhou Hao still didn't fully understand how powerful the Zhao family was, Zhao Dingzhou's status alone was no less than Liang Fengshan's father's. Therefore, Zhou Hao wasn't afraid of Liang Fengshan at all. Although Zhou Hao wasn't afraid of Liang Fengshan, Jiangsu was still Liang Fengshan's territory. Zhou Hao was afraid that he would seek revenge from the Li family in the future, which was why Zhou Hao decided to bring Li Ruolin's parents to Xiang City. After all, Xiang City was his own place. This way, Zhou Hao could feel more at ease. He originally wanted to call Zhao Yuqin and tell her about Liang Fengshan, but seeing that it was already 1 o'clock in the morning, Zhou Hao did not want to disturb Zhao Yuqin. He decided to wait until dawn to call her. Zhou Hao laid face up on the bed. Although he had experienced a series of things today, he didn't feel tired at all. Because he had seen Li Ruolin, who had been apart for nearly 2 months, the fire in his heart had been ignited. In his mind, he kept recalling the scene of him and Li Ruolin having sex. The fire in Zhou Hao's heart burned more and more fiercely, and a mountain peak appeared in his pants. Anyway, Uncle and Aunt already know about my relationship with Sister Lan. There shouldn't be any problem. Zhou Hao thought for a moment, then got up from the bed and walked out of the guest room. The lights in the hall had been turned off. Li Chufan and his wife's room was also dark and did not have a trace of light. Zhou Hao thought that they should have fallen asleep. Silently coming to the door of Li Ruolin's room, Zhou Hao held the handle of the door and gently rotated it. With a light click, Zhou Hao was overjoyed. Li Ruolin did not lock the door. She was simply waiting for him. So he carefully pushed open the door and walked in. Although the lights were not turned on in the room, it did not affect Zhou Hao's vision. He saw that the arrangement in Li Ruolin's room was very simple. There was a wardrobe beside the door, a bookshelf on the other side, a desk, and a big bed in the middle. Furthermore, the air in the room was also filled with a faint fragrance. The quilt on the bed slightly bulged, forming a figure. Seeing Li Ruolin, who was covered by the blanket on the bed, Zhou Hao was excited. He hurriedly took off his pajamas and wore only a pair of underpants before he pulled the blanket open and went in. As soon as he laid on the bed, Zhou Hao reached out and hugged Li Ruolin, who was soft all over. For a moment, he felt warm and soft. Little pervert, if I had known earlier, I would have known that you had malicious intentions. Li Ruolin leaned in Zhou Hao's arms and complained. So you deliberately didn't lock the door? Zhou Hao teased. His hands had already reached into Li Ruolin's lower hem of her clothes and touched her. Lightly. You big pervert. Li Ruolin cried out in a tender voice. Since she could not stop this little enemy, she would let him do as he pleased. In a short while, the air in the room started to heat up again. After a few waves of rain, the two of them finally calmed down. Li Ruolin was lying in Zhou Hao's arms and felt weak all over her body. She could not even move her fingers. She could only gasp for air to help herself recover. She had expended too much physical strength. It was as if her entire body had been kneaded and scattered. Zhou Hao placed his hand on Li Ruolin's back and slowly injected genuine auras into her to help her recover her physical strength. Under Zhou Hao's strong genuine auras, Li Ruolin felt that her entire body was lazy, as if she was bathing under the afternoon sun. After a long time, she rolled her eyes at Zhou Hao with resentment. You bad guy. You almost tortured me to death. At this moment, she couldn't help but think of the cave in Xiaoning Mountain. Dr. Gongsun had said that amber fruits were pure young objects. After being modified by it, Zhou Hao's body had become different from ordinary people. An ordinary woman wouldn't be able to satisfy him. On this sleepless night, Li Ruolin once again felt that what Dr. Gongsun said was right. If she relied on herself to deal with Zhou Hao, She was afraid that she would not be able to hold on for long. Don't tell me I have to find a woman for him? Li Ruolin quietly thought in her heart. Then she blamed herself. Not only was she captivated by this little enemy, she even thought of helping him find another woman. She was really disappointing. As she thought about it, Li Ruolin hit Zhou Hao's chest and said, "It's all your fault." Zhou Hao was at a loss and said, feeling wronged, "What did I do wrong again? I don't care. It's your fault anyway." Of course, Li Ruolin could not say what she was thinking. She could only vent her frustration on Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao could not help but smile bitterly when he saw his form teacher acting so unruly and spoiled like young Jiabao. "By the way, you said you wanted to open a beverage company. You didn't do it for my dad, did you?" Li Ruolin suddenly asked Zhou Hao. Although they were now one, Li Ruolin still did not want Zhou Hao to spend so much effort on her. "No, I really want to open a beverage company. It's just that your dad happens to be a technical talent in this area. As the saying goes, fertilizer does not flow out of the fields." Zhou Hao said. Li Ruolin nodded and then said, "Then you let my parents come to Xiang City. If they find out that you are my student, what should we do?" Li Chufan and his wife were very satisfied with Zhou Hao's conditions and performance. The only thing that Li Ruolin was worried about was Zhou Hao's real age and identity. Zhou Hao smiled and said, "I'm not afraid. You live in the school dormitory in Xiang City. I will prepare another house for your parents. Besides, I don't come to school often, so they probably won't know. You can be considered as an improved version of the hidden treasure in a golden house." Li Ruolin smiled and said, "Wait, what if my parents want to see your mother?" Li Chufan and his wife did not know Zhou Hao's identity, but Yin Tong knew that Zhou Hao and Li Ruolin were teachers and students. Zhou Hao also frowned, then gritted his teeth. "It's okay. At most let me cooperate with you when the time comes." After listening to Zhou Hao's words and thinking about how she might need to be honest with Yin Tong about her relationship with Zhou Hao in the future, Li Ruolin could not help but feel nervous and expectant. The two of them had gone crazy for the whole night, and now the hazy morning light was already shining through the window. Before Li Chufan and his wife got up, Zhou Hao quickly packed his clothes and went back to the guest room to prevent them from finding out anything. He slept for a while on the bed. When Zhou Hao woke up again, it was already past 8 o'clock in the morning. When he walked out of the room, he saw that Xiaoruqiu and Li Ruolin had already prepared breakfast in the kitchen while Li Chufan was in the living room watching the news. However, Zhou Hao noticed that Li Chufan's eyes had obvious dark circles. "Zhou, did you sleep well last night?" Li Chufan asked with a smile when he saw Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao suddenly felt guilty, but he still scratched his head and smiled. "Not bad, not bad. Of course it's good. Your daughter has been sleeping with me all night." After Zhou Hao sat down, Li Chufan deliberately said, "I don't know if it was a few residential buildings nearby that were demolished. The rats there were all rushed here." Squeak, squeak, squeak. Zhou Hao blushed when he heard Li Chufan's words. Li Chufan patted Zhou Hao on the shoulder and said, "Young man, you should cherish your own body. Otherwise, when you are old, there will be many side effects." Yes, uncle is right." At this moment, Zhou Hao understood that his and Li Ruolin's movements last night must have been discovered by these two elders. At the same time, in the kitchen, Xiaoruqiu was also whispering to his daughter, "Ruolin, you are still young. You must take care of yourself. Don't do things without proper standards just because you are young." "Mom, what are you talking about?" Li Ruolin lowered her head and did not dare to look at her mother. Seeing her daughter's blushing face, Xiaoruqiu smiled and said, "Last night, both your father and I heard it. Sai, can your bodies take it all night? Why don't we boil some deer whip soup to supplement Zhou? Oh right, you also need to drink some old mother chicken soup." "Mom." Li Ruolin was so shy that she could not raise her head. She remembered that her parents had heard about her and Zhou Hao's madness last night. She really wanted to find a hole and hide in it. "Don't be shy." Xiaoruqiu held Li Ruolin's hand. "Mom and your dad are both experienced people. We understand. Furthermore, we are not that stubborn. As long as the two of you like it, we will not oppose it. However, Ruolin, when are you and Zhou planning to get married? Because, if you have a child before getting married, it will not be so pleasant to hear." "Oh right. Have you seen Zhou's parents? That's great. After we go to Xiang City, we'll pay them a visit." Hearing that Xiaoruqiu had already mentioned it, the marriage between the two of them was a big matter, and Li Ruolin's face became even redder. However, in this aspect, besides Zhou Hao, Li Ruolin would never be the second husband to accompany her in this life. At this moment, Zhou Hao heard the faint sound of a police car outside. Zhou Hao immediately thought of Liang Fengshan. It seemed like he was going to make a move on him. Zhou Hao immediately took out his handphone and dialed Zhao Yuqin's number. Zhao Yuqin seemed to have just woken up, and her voice had a hint of laziness. Little pervert, why is it so early? Didn't you not get a call on Mount Hung? Zhao Yuqin and Li Ruolin both like to call Zhou Hao little pervert. Zhou Hao briefly told Zhao Yuqin about the beginning and end of the matter, and then heard Zhao Yuqin say with jealousy, "Teacher Li, it is your teacher's lover, right? That's why I called you a pervert. You didn't even let go of your own teacher." "Sister, now is not the time to joke," Zhou Hao said with a bitter face. All right. I really can't stand you, little pervert. Every time you get into trouble, I will help you wipe your butt." Zhou Hao smiled bitterly and said, "Isn't that Liang Fengshan's fault first? How can he say that I caused trouble? Then you have to calm down first. I am still in Beijing. I will help you contact the people in the Nanjing military." Zhao Yuqin was just expressing her jealousy. Regarding Zhou Hao's matter, she would definitely not stand idly by. Just as she put down the phone, the ear-piercing sound of the police car had already arrived downstairs. Li Chufan also felt that something was not right and asked Zhou Hao, "Zhou, there seems to be something wrong." "It's fine, uncle. Don't worry," Zhou Hao said. As soon as he finished speaking, the sound of knocking could be heard from outside. Li Chufan looked at Zhou Hao. When he saw Zhou Hao nod, he quickly went to open the door. He saw that the door was filled with uniformed policemen. "Police comrades, what do you want?" Li Chufan asked, puzzled. The police saw Zhou Hao and Li Ruolin in the room. "They are indeed here." After saying that, they pushed Li Chufan into the room. Two of the policemen even immediately grabbed Zhou Hao's hands. There were also 4 policemen surrounding Zhou Hao. Without saying anything, they took out their guns and aimed at Zhou Hao's head. Zhou Hao did not resist. He just said to them with a dark face, "What did I do?" Zhou Hao, the leader of the police team, said in a deep voice, "Breaking into a civilian's house and kidnapping a woman from a good family." Li Chufan and Xiaoruqiu, who came out of the kitchen, quickly said, "Police comrades, you must have misunderstood. He would not do such a thing. You must have misunderstood." There was no misunderstanding. We received a report. The person who was captured in the surveillance video of the victim's house was him, the policeman said in a deep voice and looked at Li Ruolin. "Besides, isn't Mrs. Liang here? She was kidnapped by him and brought here." Mrs. Liang? Even Zhou Hao was a little stunned when he heard her call her Mrs. Liang. Li Ruolin was also very confused. "It's her." The policeman pointed at Li Ruolin. "Isn't she the wife of the victim, Mr. Liang Fengshan, Li Ruolin? She and Mr. Liang are legally married." Li Ruolin said in shock. "What legal husband and wife is that Mr. Liang and I? The one who should be the one who kidnapped the good woman should be that Liang. You should have arrested him." As soon as she finished speaking, the crowd heard a proud male voice coming from the door. "Wife, I know it's my fault for making you angry, but you don't have to be like this. You don't even acknowledge your own husband?" Following the male voice, the crowd saw more than 10 armed police officers rushing in from the entrance. The one protected by the armed police was an average-looking man in a blue suit. The man who looked to be in his 30s was the so-called legal wife of Li Ruolin, Liang Fengshan. Do you like this video? Let me know in the comments below. And remember to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to stay updated. See you soon.